Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to summer brain versus semester brain. Thinking about ADHD and anxiety in the summer versus the academic year. Welcome. Okay, so let me just check a setting or two and we are going to get started because we know that Tuesday evenings are busy and I appreciate your time and you being here. So I am going to share my screen and should be coming up any second. And we're going to back it up to the beginning and get rolling. Always remember, please, we're going to try to stick to time. And if you have any thoughts or questions, just put it into the chat box. And if I don't address it as I'm talking, I will make sure to get to it at the end of our time together. So really what I want to touch upon is how different brains are in the summer versus the semester and some benefits of neurofeedback training in both of those seasons. So let's get started. Semester brain, how do we characterize semester brain? Semester brain is impacted by two things. So let's back up for just a second. We know that our brain performance pattern is affected by our nature. That is how we are born. There's organic patterns that we're born with. ADHD is one of them. Sometimes anxiety is one of them, but anxiety tends to be a brain pattern that develops over time, which is nurture. So we're talking about nature and nurture. And that is what we're going to think about in terms of characterization many times of what happens during the semester when kids are in school, or for all you parents out there, if you're a parent that have children in school, you know that these implications affect you also. So semester brain is characterized by very early mornings, long evenings possibly of homework. There's social issues. Children of all ages are dealing with a lot of social stuff that's happening at school. There's stress and pressure that's put on kids of all ages, from preschool all the way up to college. Cognitive load, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, and routines and rituals. And it really can fluctuate or depend on the structure of school that your child goes to. So my family's been around the block. My kids have been to public school. They've been to private school. They've been to Christian school. They've been to Montessori school. And they've been to a school that's in between Montessori and public, a charter school that is less structured than public and more structured than Montessori. So basically, I've been around the block in terms of schooling with my own children, plus I have a master's in educational leadership. So that qualifies me to be here tonight speaking about brain functioning and how semester brain is impacted. So school structure can make a huge difference. And many times with families that I work with, figuring out the right school for their child can be a really important piece. Another thing is family dynamics. So things that are happening within the family can really put more stress on kids. And, I really kind of chilled out in the last couple years. Someone complimented me the other night, which is now my favorite compliment to get, about what a good job I do in raising each one of my children to be the person that they are becoming. And all 5 of them are completely different. And there's things about each that I love. There's aspects I wish I could change. If we're thinking about your classically perfect child, not really wish I could change, but not how I envisioned it when they were young. But I appreciate that about them, and I'm trying to help them become the versions of themselves that they want to be, not the one that I pictured. And I've learned to do that. So familial dynamics can really impact the way that kids interact in their routine throughout the school year. And we've already talked about familial propensity, which is that brains don't fall far from the tree. So that's that nature aspect of how the person's brain is born, because your kid's brain is like your brain, like it or not. So it's either like your brain, it's like your spouse's brain, or it's a combination of the two. That's just how brains work. So okay, so that's a characterization of semester brain. Now, what happens for most people during summer is that we have summer brain kick in, and usually this can be a real necessary reprieve from semester brain. So most times brains get better during the summer in terms of the patterns that we see in the office for ADHD and anxiety. So summer brain is characterized by brain drain, and I'm going to give you a nice resource for brain drain, which is lack of thinking or regression of learning if you're not active about keeping your children sharp and in a thinking mode to some extent. Electronic use can go up significantly. I know I've spent a large part of summer policing electronics, which is totally exhausting, but I have to do it because I'm trying to teach my children to manage their own electronic use in a healthy way. And they are not able to do that for themselves right now because they're children, so I have to do it for them or with them, really. It's co-regulation. So everything that we're talking about in all of the webinars that I provide is self-regulation skills that come through neurological regulation. And when a person cannot regulate themselves, and especially a child, and a parent has to step in and help them regulate themselves, it's co-regulation. Okay, more sleep. So I let my kids get tons of sleep. And to me, this is the time when they are growing and they can just get as much sleep as their little bodies and their brains need. So I have us on a mostly relaxed schedule so they can get lots of sleep. And I try to involve my kids in one thing a day. Sometimes they're busy with camps and that, but not that often. Okay, vacations. Vacations are great because they can provide a nice time for relaxation and family bonding, but vacations can tend to be stressful for everybody. So it depends how you approach your vacation. All of them are work for families, but really building in enough downtime in vacations and not going over the top in terms of planning can help everybody stay sane. Traveling in and of itself is taxing on the nervous system, so I'm always teaching people about that and how important it is to give yourself time for neurological regulation and self-regulation when you're traveling, because it's just inherently exhausting on the nervous system. And during summer, kids can be more isolated. So even though the social aspect can be different during the semester for kids as they go to school every day and have to interact with all these different brains and personality types, during the summer when they are home and they can suffer from more isolation. Okay, so semester brain, really busy with lots of people, lots of things to do, longer hours and schedule. Summer, more relaxation, possibly more family time, hopefully more sleep, less routine. Okay, so we're going to think about 3 real important factors as it has to do with ADHD and anxiety. So first and foremost is sustained attention for learning and cognitive load. Secondly is stress, and third is fatigue. So we're going to look at them on a slide each. Cognitive load is the work that has to be done to create knowledge. So for a long time, I would talk about information. So when you go to school, or even yourself when you go to work and you have to learn a new skill, first you have information, which has not created a knowledge base unless you work with that information, usually in multiple modalities and in using your different learning styles to really be able to build it into a knowledge base. Going from having information provided to you to making it a knowledge base is called cognitive load. It's the amount of work that you have to put in to be able to do that. That is something that can be intense during the semester, and what that does is it increases stress and fatigue, and which can create more distraction, more difficulty focusing, and more difficulty being able to produce at high levels. So cognitive load is a really important piece that we think about when we're thinking about semester brain versus summer brain, because cognitive load is typically significantly reduced for kids during the summer, almost to the extent of brain drain, as we will see in a few minutes. So cognitive load is important, but that is what can make it so that summer can be the perfect time for neurofeedback training when the brain is a little bit more relaxed. I will tell you though, the semester is a great time because the brain is in its typical mode. So I know what you're thinking. I just told you both times are a great time to train. And if you know me, you know I think any time is a great time for neurofeedback training, but there's benefits. And the benefit to the summer is reduced cognitive load, which can create for more plasticity in the brain. The benefit in the semester is that it's typical cognitive load, so it's training the brain as it's functioning most of the time. Okay, so thinking about ADHD and how sustained attention is accomplished for most kids, or more and more kids with ADHD in today's day and age. And you don't have to look at this entire infographic to know that if you look at these colors, the darkest red are the highest states where kids are receiving ADHD medication, to the lighter states that have less kids taking ADHD medication. And these are old stats, but the increase in diagnoses is up, 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 up. And we could be here all night talking about how differences in schooling and expectations impact that. But what I want you to recognize is here on the Eastern Seaboard, where I'm located, and most people on this webinar tonight, but I will say we have people from across the world, and especially across the United States on this webinar. But the more eastern half of the country is much more medicated, and especially here in the Southeast, there's high levels of medication when it doesn't need to be that way, because neurofeedback training is proven to teach the brain to perform better and reduce the need or get rid of it altogether for medications. Okay, so let's talk about stress. Stress affects the entire body, and I'm sure you know this because even if you don't know anything about the science behind stress, you've heard basically that stress kills. And 60 to 80% of primary care doctor visits are related to stress, except for only 3% of people receive any stress management help. So I'm here to tell you that neurofeedback therapy is one of the top defenses for stress. It literally teaches your brain to make less of stress mode, which keeps you in calm focus mode more. And this is especially important for our children who are becoming more and more stressed out about life in the first place, but especially about school during the semester brain. So by providing a less stressful situation in the first place for your children, you can help ward this off. But neurofeedback therapy can really help kids that have anxiety or are feeling either episodic stress or there's chronic anxiety there. So just looking at some of the things that are affected: sleep, that we're going to look at in a minute, headaches, dizziness. It impacts ADD and ADHD. It's proven by science to make symptoms of ADD and ADHD worse. Same thing with anxiety disorders, panic disorders, anger, muscle tension, heart arrhythmias and issues, digestive problems, weight gain and obesity, muscle tension, pain issues. If you just think about it logically, your brain is top-down controlling the rest of your body. And then we know that there's a system in the body that feeds information from the rest of the body up to the brain. It is a two-way street. And when you control the way from the brain down, you help the response from the body back up. And it's just that easy. Stress is one of the number one things that are affecting people these days, and neurofeedback can help ward that off. Okay, fatigue. So most of us are totally exhausted. Myself included, even though I don't feel exhausted, thankfully, but I know that there's times across my year that I will proclaim it in the office. Again, if you know me, you know I'm a proclaimer, that I am suffering from adrenal fatigue. Most people don't talk that way, but it's true. And it means my nervous system's just completely blown out. And one example is at the end of the school year, and if you're a parent, and especially if you're a parent of lots of kids like I am, then you know that last 2 weeks of school is a killer because the kids have so many activities. My older ones are studying for exams. They're all stressed out. I'm trying to stay extra regulated to help them to co-regulate. And man, was I really wiped out those last 2 weeks of school. And fatigue in general will really make it difficult for someone to perform at peak levels. So ADHD and anxiety are proven to wreak havoc on sleep. So in both cases, the brain is not reaching a state of restorative sleep most times. So the reason sleep is so important, and again, this is a number one thing that comes online through neurofeedback training, is that your memory is improved. So thinking about cognitive load, taking information and then building it into a knowledge base, we do that through memory. We do that through working memory, short-term memory, sequential memory, building it into long-term memory. There's lots of other types of memory involved, but that's the gist of it. Benefits of sleep also add years to your life. So it helps your nervous system function better. So it provides for longevity. It spurs creativity. So when you're well rested and your brain is performing at optimal levels, you can tap into your creativity and you can implement it. There's another study that shows that attention sharpens. So you're less likely to be hyperactive, inattentive, or impulsive. And there's actually studies that show that this increase in diagnoses in ADHD, much of it, or some of it, I guess I should say, but it really is much of it, is contributed to fatigue and poor sleep for children, because children have smartphones and they keep them in their bedrooms and their sleep is being ruined, and it's contributing to diagnoses because it's contributing to the symptoms and effects on weight loss. And we know obesity is running rampant in children, and lack of sleep and fatigue is contributing to it. Okay, so let's look at the ADHD brain pattern and think about how those factors are creating issues for children. This is an example. This is the raw EEG, but what I really wanted to show you is how that maps onto the colored QEEG brain map that you might see if you go to a neurofeedback provider, and especially if you come into us at Leigh, Brain, and Spine. There's different formats for these maps. Some of them have circles that go from yellow to red to green to blue. It's the same information in just a little bit different format, and it's very easy to be able to look between the different types of maps. I like to use these. These are the ones that we use at Leigh, Brain, and Spine, but also you can find many of these online too if you're looking for comparisons. What I wanted to show you is here we have 4 of our 5 main brain speeds. Delta is extra slow speed. Theta is slow brain processing, which is implicated in ADHD. Alpha is medium speed for calm. Beta is perfectly fast, as I call it, fast speed for focus. And you can see down here on the scale that green is 0. 0 means optimal levels of performance. When we see yellow to orange to red, that's too much of a speed. And when we see blues, it's too low of a speed. So what you see here is that in an ADHD brain, there's much too much theta, slow brain speed, and there's not enough beta, fast, perfectly fast processing speed. So information is not processed in real time. It's hung up, or the person's brain makes it so that they become distracted and have lack of focus because their brain is cranking too slow. What that looks like on raw EEG are these loose waves, these real loose and high waves that you see here. We want the waves to be uniform and fairly tight on the line. Okay, so if we're moving forward to an anxiety brain map, what you'll see here is these really tight lines, and you can see these black arrows where they're really, really tight. That is an anxiety brain map. And on this here brain map, now we have the 5 speeds, including high beta, which is extra fast brain speed. And that is the speed that is involved in anxiety brain functioning. The brain is cranking away at extra fast speed, making it almost impossible to get down into the perfect amount of fast speed for calm focus. And so when neurofeedback therapy is used, basically what we're doing is we are decreasing the use of brain speeds in the extremes of too much extra fast and too much slow, and we're boosting calm focus in the middle so that a person's brain can focus better, feels less stressed. Calm focused brain can accomplish anything, right? So with neurofeedback therapy or brain training, the brain is actually learning to produce more of that speed in the middle and less of those in the extreme. So medication is no longer necessary, which is totally awesome. Okay, so, but starting point matters. So baseline brain functioning can be really important to assess. That's why we do a QEEG brain map, and we can find out if a person has the ADHD pattern, has an anxiety brain pattern, has a head injury pattern, has a cognitive decline pattern, because ADHD and anxiety will impact those other brain patterns and vice versa. Okay, so in the summer, preventing brain drain, and I wanted to share this tip with you because we know that many kids have brain drain because they're not really using their brains during the summertime, and studies show that there's 2/3 regression when a child is not engaged over the summer, and no fortnight does not count. And that's going out to my son, Seamus, who's definitely not watching tonight, but he loves to play Fortnite. But every single day I make him engage his mind and his body in something else so that he is not at risk of 2/3 of regression of that sharpness and the ability to use cognitive load that he developed over the last school year. So you can click on this link. It's publicschoolreview.com, or if you look up brain drain or tips for vacation, you'll find a lot of good information on the internet. Okay, so let's look at some examples of a semester brain example and then versus a summer brain, so I can show you what I'm talking about. These are the brain performance graphs that we look at Leigh Brain and Spine. So every time a person comes in for neurofeedback training, we are able to see how that person's brain is performing. And this is one middle school child. This is that child's brain during the semester and during the summer. And what I wanted to show you is here you can see we have these higher levels of the black line delta and higher levels of theta, and this yellow line is high beta. So the black line is lack of focus or ADHD types of symptoms, and the yellow line is stress. And then you can see during this summer brain graph, yes, the black and the dark blue lines still start higher, but they immediately come down lower, and they have much more of a plateau across the middle, and you can see how much lower this yellow line is. So there's a stark difference in what kids' brains are doing during the semester and the summer, and especially in the black line and the dark blue line and the yellow line. So that slow speed comes down, there's less distraction and better ability for the brain to focus if pushed to do so. But you can see it's still existing in an ADHD mode, but when pushed to, it can get there to within normal limits faster, and it can stay there longer. And same thing for the stress mode. Okay, so this is our last slide for tonight's webinar, because I was trying to keep it short and sweet since it is summer and a lot of people are off having fun on a summer night. What you want to do to encourage brain performance by season is during the semester, this is the number one tip that I tell people, is you want to scaffold your child's skills, or yours, if you're interested. So what scaffolding means is you have to build scaffolding on a building to be able to build floor number 2. After you have floor number 1, you build floor number 2. You cannot build floor 28. You have to go from floor 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. You have to build skills by providing scaffolding on the edges of the building to be able to build it from within. And in our discussion, that's co-regulation and breaking tasks down into small chunks. So as we approach the beginning of the school year again, please remember this tip. It's very important. If you help your child by scaffolding based upon their needs, where they are now and where you want to get them to, think of it like this. Where they are now is floor number 1. Where you want to get them to is floor 28. So right now, if a child cannot do his homework at all by himself, and independent homework production that gets an A is floor 28, you have to work to get him to floor 2, which means he can do his homework for just a few minutes by himself, and then you check it for quality. Then you're building him up to 7 minutes of homework, still with high quality, building him up to a half hour of homework, and then you're building him up to all the homework and checking the quality at the end. That's co-regulation, but that's not going to happen overnight. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to happen through consistent scaffolding. But if you build it properly, the building will be very strong from the foundation. It's really important. Take frequent breaks during the semester. That's neurointegration. I try to take as many breaks as I can afford myself, especially when I'm learning new information. So I'm always learning new information is the reality, because I love it. And right now I'm focused on a new topic for me that I have not thought about in many, many years. So I read a little bit on it. I search a little bit of the science on it. I'm listening to a book on it. And then today I actually took my kids to the pool, and I was a little bummed because I didn't bring my book, and they met up with friends. So I ended up staying there longer than I anticipated, and I didn't wear my suit, because normally I do what I call water aerobics with Trish. yes, I'm probably going to regret recording that on a webinar. It's usually just me exercising in the pool while my neighbors make a comment on how I'm exercising in the pool. I run every day, but especially when it's so hot, it's like almost 100 today. It's like 95 still. For anybody in North Carolina with me, they understand that. So I take the kids to the pool and I'll exercise. I didn't bring my suit today because I was rushing. So I got there, no book, no suit, no ability to work out. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I thought to myself, it's probably divine intervention to create some neural integration time, because I've been using my brain pretty hardcore today since 5 a.m. Not building in too many breaks because I have been learning while I drive and I'm really sucked into it. So it became a really nice break, and I really just kind of used some meditation techniques while I chilled my brain out and tried to get it to stop thinking. And that's a nice segue. And what it provided for was neural integration of all the information that I read today, hopefully. And I usually take a power nap in the middle of the day, and I didn't have time to today because power naps are also neural integration. So usually the easiest way for me to stop thinking is to just take a nice power nap, but I didn't have time today. So the last thing in semester brain is to find your meditation, and it's blocked by that brainwave logo, but it says to increase alpha. Alpha is the feeling of calm, low beta is the feeling of focus. So when you find something that is your meditation, in air quotes, what that does for you is it gets your brain into a nice mode of calm focus. So for example, I have stand-up paddle boards that I like to take on the lake that is close by to me. I like to read, like I told you, but I'll do light reading that is fun for me and not lots of thinking, like the subject I was talking about. My husband loves to golf. That's his meditation. He's thinking, but he's very relaxed. People have all different kinds of meditations. A woman in the office knits, and I say this all the time. I had to knit and literally stab my eye out. It would not put me into alpha. It put me hardcore into high beta. So meditation, the meditation of yours is different for all people. I like to play basketball. I play basketball with my dog in the yard all the time. And I know the rules a little, and I practice actual drills. It's really fun for me to think about, but low grade. Okay, so then in the summer, what you want to do. So let me back up for 1 second. During the semester, you really want to focus on increasing alpha, and those three things are all to give your brain a break and to help it to be more chill so you can build from it. In the summer, if your brain is more chill, you want to be able to keep it in the low beta focus mode more so that you can avoid brain drain and keep your brain focused. And that's another asset of neurofeedback training during the summer, is that it can offset the brain drain, because really what it's doing is it's bumping up your low beta focus mode during the season that you're not doing a whole lot of that, instead of bumping it up during the season that you are doing a lot of it. So we will also tweak our neurofeedback training based upon the graphs that I showed you and what a person's brain needs. So it's all individualized, but interesting to think about the needs of the brain by season. So in the summer, do more reading and learning and encourage your children to do that. So my kids have books. They have to read 15 minutes most days, and they have to stay engaged to keep their low beta popping up. You can use an app when you're on vacation. This is an app called Brainwaves. It is not neurofeedback. It doesn't even pretend to be, but it is visual. It's actually audio entrainment. I was going to say audio visual entrainment. There's no visual aspect to this one. It's audio. You can put your earbuds in, and you can see this one, deep relaxation, uses low delta and delta theta range frequencies to put you in a deeply relaxed state. That would be one that you would want to use at night if it's increasing your delta and theta, not one designed for, increasing focus. But if you read through them, there's one for reducing anxiety, for calm reflection. And what it does is it will literally put the frequency, the wave that we saw a little bit ago, into your brain via audio signals, and they cancel each other out, so you don't actually hear anything produced by those audio waves, but it will entrain your brain, or your brain will attune to that signal, and it'll help speed your brain up if it needs a little boost, or will help calm your brain down. It's a really cool app that you might enjoy. And lastly is neuro meditation. If you've heard me talk about it before, using the Muse Calm headband. I love it. I use mine all the time. I have to actually make a video because someone asked me what the role of Calm headband is in neurofeedback training. It's used as an ancillary during neurofeedback training, but I think the real power of it is after a neurofeedback program has been completed. It's a tool that you can use to continue to regulate your own brain once it's in that optimal mode or close to it. Okay, so hopefully this will help you to keep your brain sharp during the summer and understand the benefits of neurofeedback training during the summer. And during the semester, I'm going to check the Q&A box. There's no questions tonight, probably because people are all off ready to get to their barbecue now after taking in all this great information. If you have any questions for me, please contact me at info@drtrishleigh.com. You can visit my website at drtrishleigh.com, or if you want more information on neurofeedback training, we offer home neurofeedback training also at leebrainandspine.com. Okay, I hope you have an awesome night, and thanks for joining me. I know how precious your time is. It's really, really valuable, and it is not lost on me. Okay, thanks. Have an awesome night.